Greetings, my name is Moshe Daniel and this is a David House Productions video where I will be commenting and critiquing the movie Zeitgeist. Now Zeitgeist has become very popular and a lot of people are watching it. When I first watched the movie Zeitgeist, I was very taken and impressed by parts 2 and 3. But part 1 I found to be a travesty. And it's very poorly organized. The information that is shared is there are so many false facts that are used to conveniently support arguments in this part that the whole movie becomes kind of tainted with this poorly done, irresponsible part 1. And also the conclusion of part 1 to me is one of the most troubling items of this movie, being presented hand in hand with the concept of this New World Order and the Federal Banking Reserve, which I tend to agree with and tend to believe that this is in fact the case. And also to say from my heart, I also understand and believe that religion has controlled, that religion has falsified truth, that religion has kept truth from us, and those in power in the hierarchies of religion have fallen prey to the desire to be like God, ruling over human beings, and that's trying to maintain a stranglehold on human consciousness to exalt themselves as God, which is really the path of the serpent, or what we may call the desire of Satan, of Satan in the Kabbalistic term. You know, the Zeitgeist movie uses the quote towards the end of part 1 that says this: "We don't want to be unkind, but we want to be factual. We don't want to cause hurt feelings, but we want to be academically correct." But they're not academically correct. And there are so many misleading facts. After I watched the movie, I joined the Facebook discussion group, and I was appalled to see how many people had jumped on the bandwagon of believing that Jesus never existed. Now, like I said, I don't disagree with Zeitgeist saying that religion has controlled. But if religion has control, does that automatically mean that Jesus never existed? What I see in Zeitgeist is a very irresponsible use of knowledge and trying to use the knowledge to support arguments when the knowledge and the facts that are used are not even real or true. There was a gentleman, a Hindu man, who came on and said that the facts stated about Krishna were not correct. They were not accurate at all. And he quoted many reasons why. Also, there are other things that about Zeitgeist. I won't go into all the details of the false facts, but for instance, the concept of Horus being a precursor to Jesus. It's true, alchemically, Kabbalistically, there is a model of truth there, that Horus is the child of the god and the goddess of Isis and Osiris. And so in that way he will represent and be very similar in fact to Jesus. In my Kabbalistic work and alchemical astrological work that you could find through David House Productions, particularly on the Sphinx sphere, and in my bio, part 3, under the section of Moshe Daniel at davidhouseproductions.com, you can read this document where I will go into very profound details showing how there is this as above so below relationship between ourselves and the Christ, or the Son, the child of God, and the stars. Astrologically, the symbolism that is painted in the stars is a representation of what also can exist upon the earth. When there is a divine being in harmony with the Creator, they become holding within themselves the Son, the Father and the Mother and the child. So that is true. That is a fact. Yet the fact that we could see patterns in the stars, does that mean that the story about Jesus, about Yeshua in the Hebrew term, and about the different powerful, beautiful founders, or the beings that initiated certain religions and movements, that they did not exist because they have similarities? What you can also see when you study alchemy and Kabbalah is that these figures, like Jesus and like Dionysus, they share commonalities between each other because they are resonating with the Godhead, with the Christ, with the office of the Christ, and the Messiah, the Mashiach in the Hebrew term, and therefore they will share characteristics that they descend into the underworld. Dionysus descends into the underworld. Jesus descends. They are born miraculously, which is not necessary, but eventual achievement of a state of consciousness of the child consciousness or the Messiah is important. Now, something about Horus, which I think is totally false, is that it was said in the video Zeitgeist that he was born of a virgin birth, but he's not born of a virgin birth. Isis is not a virgin when she conceives Horus. She was married and with Osiris for a long time before Horus is conceived. The story is that Osiris is murdered and his body is chopped into 14 parts, scattered around the earth. Isis gathers these, miraculously reassembling Osiris, and then she makes love with Osiris's body, and Horus is conceived. Now, if that is the same as Jesus' Immaculate Conception with Mary, who's a virgin, and who the seed is coming from the higher heavens or from a non-human man, then I am quite surprised by that. Also, the whole concept that, first of all, Horus is born on December 25th. He was born 3000 BC. How do they know he was born December 25th when that concept of December and even 25 at that time did not even exist? Also, Jesus is probably not born on December 25th, but sometime towards March, April. Many astrological scholars believe he was born during the time of Pisces or the time of Aries. I'm not sure about that, but I just do call into question so many of the facts that were used in this movie. Now what we see here is a trend of swinging of the pendulum, which is such a dangerous thing, because it causes a swinging from one extreme to another extreme, and that means that the momentum is going to have to carry back over to the other extreme. So one extreme is that this is the truth, religion knows the truth, and you have to believe it or you're going to hell. The other extreme is that nothing is the truth, everything is the truth, nothing is the truth. This is a totally unbalanced, what I call the unbalanced positive, or in the Kabbalistic workings, the unbalanced female. It's the swinging towards nothing is sacred. There's no discernment. So this Zeitgeist movie is also lacking in discernment to be able to say, yes, religion has control. Yes, the Catholic order and the church took the story of Jesus and falsified certain parts of it in order to control consciousness. The most extreme example being in the Middle Ages, when all the Bibles were translated into Latin and only the priests were allowed to study Latin. Therefore, they had a stranglehold on the truth, because they said only through us, the holders of the truth, the keepers of the truth, can you, the people, come to know truth. So that is an example of how religion controls. But does that mean necessarily that Jesus didn't exist? And here I am, a Jewish person. I'm not a Jew for Jesus. I am a Kabbalist and an alchemist. I was raised traditionally Jewish. But I've come to believe that Yeshua was in the model of the Messiah. Now, I'm not saying he's the one and only begotten Son, and I'm not saying the Christian belief either that only through Jesus can we achieve connection with the Father. But I am saying that I believe he did exist. And one of the greatest arguments that I have for saying that, ironically, is through the Jewish people. I've been to Israel many times, and I've spoken with rabbis, very religious, very beautiful people, wonderful people. And they have told me stories that have come from thousands of years ago about Jesus. Now, why would the Jews, who don't believe Jesus is the Messiah, who do not regard him as the Son of God, who don't see him at all as the Christians do, and as the church deified him into this tremendous level, why would they have stories about Yeshua if he didn't exist? Now, that is a very good question, and I think it's the greatest argument towards the fact that he did exist. And I also say this because there is a very beautiful thing surrounding the understanding of the breach between the Jewish people and Jesus, who is also Jewish. There are many Jews acknowledging Yeshua in different ways. Masterful person, very loving being, a Kabbalistic master. Or some, like the Jews for Jesus, that have very Christian beliefs that he is the Son of God and he is the Messiah and he will return, all of that stuff. But if we just look at the Jews in general that have not acknowledged Yeshua, then what is the problem there is that they're actually not acknowledging part of their own true nature. So what you point your finger at and judge, the three fingers point back at you, that is something you have not accepted about yourself. So I see that there's a tremendous importance in the Jewish people coming to acknowledge Jesus, Yeshua, as being probably the greatest Jew that ever lived in the essence of the Torah, which is, you can ask any rabbi, is Vahavta le'arecha kamocha, love thy neighbor as you love yourself.